Right now, China's paying a 104% tariff. Think of it, 104%.
The future of global trade hangs in a balance as Donald Trump's so-called reciprocal tariffs come into effect. Taiwanese markets continue to fall even after the government steps in to prop them up. Farmers are concerned that the tariffs will hit their exports hardest. Plus, Taiwan's intelligence agencies sound the alarm over growing Chinese military activity. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Betty Chen. Donald Trump's 104% tariff on China has come into effect, escalating his trade war with the world's second-largest economy. The new tariff is causing another round of financial pain, with markets across Asia tumbling on the news. Rosie Greninger has the latest.
These Chinese products sold in the US are now subject to a mammoth 104% tariff. That's after US President Donald Trump hiked levies on all imported goods from China, as the two countries engage in a trade war showdown.
Right now, China's paying a 104% tariff. Think of it, 104%. Now, it sounds ridiculous, but they charged us for many items 100%, 125%. Many countries have. They've ripped us off left and right.
As part of sweeping global tariffs announced last week, Trump imposed a 34% levy on Beijing, on top of the 20% already applied this year. When China responded with a retaliatory 34% tariff, the US president added an extra 50%. The White House says nearly 70 countries impacted by the measure are attempting to negotiate a deal with the US, including Taiwan, and China should too.
The president believes that she and China want to make a deal. They just don't know how to get that started. And the president also wanted me to tell all of you that if China reaches out to make a deal, he'll be incredibly gracious, but he's going to do what's best for the American people.
China claims the US has not showed any willingness for dialogue around these issues. The country has moved to stabilize its domestic market by increasing its holdings in stock market index funds, as it refuses to bow to pressure from the US.
如果美方置两国和国际社会的利益于不顾，执意打关税战、贸易战，中方必将奉陪到底。
Economic analysts believe Trump's dramatic trade escalation with China is aiming to reconstruct the global supply chain by attempting to force Beijing's hand to reduce the US trade deficit and negotiate on what America sees as unfair trade practices.
I think right now they really want to get Beijing on the negotiation table to really discuss how they are going to move forward with the tariff rates and how they are going to address some of the concerns within Washington, the concerns within Beijing.
But the 104% tariff will not only hurt China. American importers who rely on Chinese markets will bear the cost of tariffs and pass that on to consumers.
After this week, we might going to increase the price for those the products. I mean those ingredient and then the sauce. How much they pretend? How much will be? How much they're going to increase the price for us?
Markets are already feeling the pain, with stocks across Asia plummeting. Despite the financial turmoil, Trump has pushed ahead with the latest tariff measures. The focus is now on how China will respond to the escalation and how the impacts of a trade war between the world's two biggest economies will ripple across the globe. Dolphine Chen and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
China says it does not want a trade war with the U.S., but will fight against U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs. State news agency Xinhua says Beijing has released a white paper on economic ties with the U.S. hours after Trump's 104% tariff on Chinese imports took effect. In it, China says the measures show the isolationist and coercive nature of U.S. conduct and will have serious repercussions. China has responded with a 34% tariff on American goods, but the paper says Beijing is willing to communicate with Washington and believes in win-win trade. Taiwan's stock market continues to spiral as investors respond to Trump's tariff plan for Taiwan. But the government is stepping in to try to stabilize the market. Leslie Liao reports from Taiwan Stock Exchange.
Taiwan's government has greenlit a $15 billion injection into the local stock market in a bid to reverse a downward trend. The money will be coming from the National Financial Stabilization Fund, which can be activated during times of turmoil. And this will be the 9th time that the fund has been approved for use. Taiwan stocks have not been doing well all week, and this is a reaction to U.S. President Donald Trump imposing a 32% tariff on Taiwan. When the market opened on Monday, it saw its biggest ever single-day drop, both points-wise and percentage-wise. Taiwan's weighted stock index, the Taiex, dropped over 2,000 points and closed under 20,000. Taiwan's Financial Supervisory Commission anticipated the drop and placed limits on short selling, which is an investment maneuver where people can profit off of stocks losing value. Then the stocks continued to slide on Tuesday, and the Taiex closed under 19,000. And then on Wednesday, the Taiex closed under 18,000 for the first time in 14 months. It's still unclear how the fund will be used this time around, but essentially the money will be used to buy up local shares to lessen market volatility and reassure investors. If precedent is anything to go by, Taiwan's major stocks like TSMC, MediaTek, and Foxconn will all receive some of that money. All 3 of those stocks have taken major hits since Monday. Hank Xu, Klein Wang, and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's opposition Kuomintang has asked the government to increase its aid package for local industries to offset Trump's 32% levy on Taiwanese goods. Kuomintang Chair Eric Zhu said the proposed $2.7 billion package is far from enough to help businesses cope with the tariffs. He suggested increasing it to at least $6 billion. Zhu said the money saved from the legislature's budget cuts this year can be used to finance the package. The ruling Democratic Progressive Party says it supports the increase, but that budget cuts cannot simply be reversed. It comes as President Lai Ching-te's administration tries to overcome political divides to pass the aid package in an opposition-led legislature. Here in Taiwan, farmers are also worried about the impacts of the tariffs. They say higher tariffs on Taiwan could cause American customers to turn to imports from other countries. Tiffany Wong has this report.
Fish farmers here in southern Taiwan are having a hard time. What was projected to be a year of growing sales now looks to be a year of steep competition. Newly imposed U.S. tariffs of 32% on Taiwanese exports have industry insiders worried. They say Taiwan may not be able to compete with countries with lower tariffs.
烦恼是巴西，因为他们是10%的关税而已。当然，如果是以关税的话，我们台湾的品质一定不怕，但是我们是怕价格。
The Agriculture Ministry estimates that the tariffs will most affect exports of orchids, edamame, and tea, as well as fish like sea bass and mahi-mahi. Up to 80% of these fish are exported, leaving farmers worried.
油钱嘛贵啦，什么拢贵，关税阁贵，若国介绍阁共款无提高安尼，是要哪里啊？
鱼仔济销袂出去啊，一头家你牵你2、3千斤、2、3千斤啊，你几万斤的鱼仔款得看啊，当时。
The government is in talks with the U.S. over the tariffs, but some farmers are concerned that the government's zero tariff approach may backfire on their markets for industries like domestic pork. If imported meat becomes cheaper, local farmers may suffer.
美国猪肉会不会多进口？这是一个问号嘛，也是我们的疑虑嘛。第二波会面临到说消费性停滞啊，怕说就是影响到未来台湾猪肉的需求也会减低啊。
The Agriculture Ministry is considering solutions like financial assistance and creating new markets to help farmers navigate these uncertainties.
对美国来讲，农产品是一个贸易的顺差，他们每一年输到台湾的大概36.9亿，那我想这个部分的整体的一个评估，其实我们最担心的是市场的萎缩了。
The government is being forced to walk a fine line as it looks for solutions, balancing lowering trade barriers with its desire to smooth ties with the U.S., all while protecting domestic industries and the people whose livelihoods depend on them. Ryan Wu and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
Asian economies are among the hardest hit by Trump's new tariffs. Some Taiwanese factories in Southeast Asia are grappling with tariff rates even higher than the 32% imposed on Taiwan. Many are now waiting to see if and how governments will negotiate with Washington. Joyce Deng reports.
Taiwanese factories set up overseas are still hard at work, but business is far from usual. Many now struggling to cope with U.S. President Donald Trump's new global tariffs. Some are facing even higher rates than the one imposed on Taiwan, like firms in Vietnam, now slapped with a 46% levy.
像我做鞋子的话，50%都是销到美国去的，这次恐怕会很严重。包括因为我们越南有家具、纺织，还有成衣。
Since the 1990s, Taiwanese firms have increased investments to Southeast Asia as part of a national Go South policy under former President Lee Teng-hui. The idea was to make sure Taiwan's export-heavy economy does not overly rely on China. Current President Lai Ching-te has his own version of the initiative called New Southbound Policy Plus, continuing to encourage Taiwanese firms to work with the region. But now Trump has imposed new tariffs on all 10 ASEAN countries, with Cambodia and Laos facing some of the highest rates. Thailand, which is looking at a 36% tariff, is the production base for several Taiwanese firms. The United States may not be the main market for some of them, but they are still bracing for collateral damage.
我们会评估我们的对手有可能会转移美国市场到其他非美国市场，我们必须要有一些预警措施来巩固我们既有的市场，避免新的竞争对手进入。
Another factor to account for is uncertainty, as governments scramble to negotiate with Washington to lower the tariffs. The White House saying almost 70 countries have reached out to Trump.
Bring us your best offers, and he will listen.
Businesses are watching any potential talks closely, hoping for the best, but also preparing for the worst.
COVID 比现在还严重的一个状况呢，我们都可以 survive 下来了。
With Trump's tariffs taking effect, these overseas Taiwanese firms have little choice but to keep its non-U.S. customers close and adapt to a more closed-off American economy. Eason Pan and Joyce Chen for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's intelligence chief says China is stepping up its military pressure on Taiwan by changing the way it conducts routine military drills. It's part of a new wave of tactics meant to put strain on Taiwan's armed forces. Jaime Okan reports.
In the past year, China has conducted not one, not two, not three, but 4 large-scale military drills around Taiwan. And that's prompting concern here in Taipei as security officials reveal just how quickly China's military is evolving. A new report from Taiwan's National Security Bureau shows that Beijing's so-called large-scale exercises could be smaller, regular drills that are hyped up to be a bigger threat.
我们会来注意，因为现在中共的相关的演习也跟委员报告说明，他这些演习有很多也是把他例行性的演习给拼凑在一起，变成是一个所谓的对台的针对性的演习。那再配合到征讯的操作，来造成国人的一种恐慌。
Earlier in April, China launched large-scale drills known as Straight Thunder 2025A, which saw dozens of aircraft and warships surround Taiwan. Beijing says the exercises focused on precision strikes and were in response to Taiwan President Lai Ching-te announcing a plan to counter Chinese espionage. But Taiwan Security Bureau says this is an excuse.
这一次的演习的时间点确实是比较特殊，因为总统是在3月13号召开国安高层会议，做了一些加强我们防治中共渗透的一些措施的宣布。但是演习的时间是拖到了4月1号跟2号。假如是针对性的演习的话，时间不会拖这么长。所以我们在判断上，当然透过这个演习可以对台来进行一些施压。
But whatever the reason for the drills, Taiwan says it's seeing an unprecedented number of Chinese planes around the country. The total amount of Chinese incursions into the country's air defense identification zone has skyrocketed since they were first reported in 2019. 4 months into this year, and China's military, known as the PLA, have already tripled the number of planes it sent around Taiwan in the entirety of 2020.
Essentially, what we've seen is the PLA gradually expand its presence on a daily basis to surround Taiwan and then integrate new capabilities, kind of more far-reaching training exercises at a smaller level and a larger level, but really to kind of get used to operating in an actual operational environment that is the Taiwan theater.
Despite Taiwan not responding to Chinese aggression with its own drills, it remains on alert, practicing how to mobilize its forces quickly for any situation that might arise. Justin Wu and Jaime Okan for TaiwanPlus.
Officials in central Taiwan have released the results of an investigation into a gas explosion at a Taichung mall that killed 5 people in February. Taichung's fire department found that the blast at the city's Shinkong Mitsukoshi department store was caused by a gas leak. Prosecutors say the main gas switch on the floor of the mall where it occurred had not been turned off and that the gas detector had been removed. They are now questioning people to determine responsibility for the explosion. The gas company that installed the mall's gas system says it acted according to regulations.
我们就针对星光三月的请求去做瓦斯表及开关而已，其他我们都没有什么其他的动作这样。
Prosecutors say those determined to be responsible face charges for negligent homicide. Coming up after the break, the spyware targeting Taiwanese activists abroad. Stay tuned.
Veggie Island brings you delicious plant-based dining in Tainan. Asian-inspired cuisine that challenges your perceptions of plant-based meals. Vegetarian fusion cuisine located in a historic guest house nearby Tainan's Shikan Tower. A hidden gem tucked away on a century-old street in Tainan full of cool, fun rock and roll vibes. A sensational vegan noodle shop passed down over 3 generations. A 2024 Michelin Guide selected restaurant specializing in vegetarian cuisine.
Veggie Island, Season 2. Every Monday, 8:15 p.m. on TaiwanPlus.
The closest Japanese territory to Taiwan, Yonaguni Island, located at the westernmost tip of the Okinawan archipelago, has recently become a focal point in Japan's discussions about the Taiwan Strait situation, often referred to as the Taiwan contingency. Through this 4-episode series, we will delve into Yonaguni Island, a small island that feels both farthest from and nearest to Taiwan, exploring its cultural traditions, historical ties, and contemporary social issues.
Frontline Residents, Yonaguni Island, coming Wednesday, April 23rd, 8:15 p.m. on TaiwanPlus.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. China is using malicious phone applications to surveil those who oppose Beijing. That's according to intelligence agencies from the UK, the US, Canada, and others. Beijing rejects the claims. To find out more about how China uses this technology, our reporter Rick Glauert spoke to Billion Lee of Cofacts, who works to spread awareness of cybersecurity issues.
Western intelligence agencies are warning of malicious software and spyware being used by China. What does this look like?
They might use like a free and some small function, small feature you might need, and make you think that is not harmful. As long as you download those kind of app from your app store and from like Android areas, you might just allow those kind of malicious software inside your phone. And it seems like it will like monitor you like day after day, because actually, even if you didn't like turn off your camera or like your microphone, those kind of app that can still like privately record or maybe catch your like snap or voice immediately and even when you're sleeping.
And who is Beijing supposedly targeting and why?
For example, even like Hong Kong activists or maybe like activists in Muslim community from Taipei, from Xinjiang or some other Mongolia, some country, they do have the border issues. You might see like those kind of spyware might use information, your contact, your message between you and your friend. For example, like WeChat, they can definitely use record and to see all the information inside your closing chat room.
What is China doing with the surveillance that it's gathering?
China do want to collect your data, no matter what data they are, who your boyfriend, spouses, connection, even colleagues, your contact between you and some other people that shows like you're from different community, to divide your community and also provide some basic idea. For example, food shortage. For example, you're on like a conservative churches community, maybe like anti-abortion or anti-LGBTQ rights. Those kind of like community issue and topic can be used to attack your political idea. Also, make you think of like democracy is chaotic. Make you think of the government cannot protect you. The Western culture cannot protect you.
That was cybersecurity expert Billion Li. 2 Chinese nationals fighting for Russia have been captured in eastern Ukraine, according to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
Я думаю, що це важливий дуже елемент. Я думаю, Сполученим Штатам Америки треба більше приділити увагу тому, що відбувається сьогодні. І ми очікуємо після того, що це ще одна країна, яка військово підтримує вторгнення Росії в Україну.
Zelensky posted a video of one of the captured men on X. In his post, Zelensky said Ukraine has information suggesting there are many more Chinese citizens fighting for Russia. It's still unclear whether the 2 men are official soldiers or involved in another capacity. The U.S. Senate has confirmed Trump nominee Elbridge Colby to a key position at the Pentagon. Colby helped shape strategy in the first Trump presidency with a shift towards Asia. In his new role as Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, Colby is suspected to place an emphasis on countering China. At a confirmation hearing in March, he said Taiwan should increase its defense spending to 10% of GDP. Colby has said a Chinese invasion of Taiwan would plausibly and gravely threaten the U.S. The U.S. could hit Taiwanese chip giant TSMC with $1 billion fine. That's according to sources who spoke to Reuters. The U.S.'s Commerce Department is investigating how one of TSMC's advanced chips ended up in a Huawei AI processor last year. Washington has blacklisted Huawei and other Chinese tech firms from accessing U.S. technology, including cutting-edge chips like TSMC's. Officials are looking into whether shipments to China-based customer SoftGo might have created a backdoor for those chips to reach Huawei. TSMC says it's following the law and is fully cooperating with the investigation. A transgender Rohingya beautician is working to empower her community. Through her work, she's aiming to bring diversity and hope to other refugees. Zulan Sata has the story.
Inside the world's biggest refugee camp, one transgender woman is determined to break barriers. Through beauty, she's changing looks and lives. Tanya, a Rohingya refugee, is making a name for herself as the camp's go-to beautician. She fled Myanmar in 2017, escaping to Bangladesh among 750,000 Rohingya people, running from the military's bloody crackdown. In 2017, Myanmar's military launched a brutal crackdown on Tanya's people, a minority Muslim ethnic group long denied citizenship. As Rohingya villages were burned, hundreds of thousands fled, searching for a better future. Among them was the 18-year-old Tanya. Already an outcast in her community for being transgender, she faced even greater struggles. But Tanya never gave up. Using what she learned during a beauty internship, she convinced a Bangladeshi businessman to help her open a salon. Now, it's more than just a workplace. It's where she transforms others and inspires. Every day, Tanya continues to push her community to break free from begging. She believes by setting examples of hard work, society will see them as equals. Scott Huang and Zalan Shata for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, take a look at millions of flowers blooming in the Netherlands. I'm Betty Chen. Take care and see you next time.